Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Blessing Odama. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for subscribing. So in today's video, we'll be talking about guide on how to answer nursing interview questions. So if this is what interests you, just stick around and watch this video to the end. And I promise it's going to be educating and entertaining as well. As human, it's quite okay for you to feel nervous, to feel anxious about an interview invite. So in this video, we'll be giving you tips on how to prepare for your interview, especially nursing interview. So when you have an interview invite, you feel confident, you feel ready enough, you feel prepared for this interview. So we'll be discussing this point in this video. So if this is what interests you, just stick around. Before preparation for the interview, you would want to first of all, relax yourself as much as possible. You want to be calm, you want to prepare yourself ahead of time, you want to do some research and all of that. So the first thing you want to do, you want to research about the organization that you're going for an interview for. That's the first tip. So you want to go on the internet space to search about the hospital, the trust that you've been invited for an interview. So every hospital you're being invited for an interview, they would want you to have an idea of what goes around about the hospital, what they do in the hospital, the core values. You want to know their bed spaces, you want to know their number of staff, you want to know who the executive directors are, and you want to know their specialties as well. So if you're being invited for an interview, the first thing you want to do is to go have a research, do a research about the trust, the hospital that you've been invited for, get an idea of what they do, their core values and stuff. So that will go a long way to help you. So the next point is you want to brush up about what is happening. So in the abroad and anywhere you go to, nursing trend, the NHS, whatever, it's a trend. So you want to brush up to know what is happening. This makes the interviewer or your employer feels that you're serious about getting this job, you're serious about working with them. So you have interest of what is going around and happening in the trust or in the hospital that you're applying for, or nursing as a whole. You have interest in it, so you want to just do some brush up of what's happening in nursing, what's happening in the NHS or care home or the private sector you're about going to work with or you're searching for job with. So the next point, you want to do some research again about scenarios. You want to find out about scenarios that are being asked. Wherever you are in the world, nursing is one and the same thing. So interview questions mostly follow the same trend, the same pattern. So you want to research scenarios because most of nursing interview question has to do with scenarios. They want to ask you some questions related to nursing in a practical setting, like how you would manage it if you're in the ward, if you're in a clinical setting, if something like this happen, how you go about it. So you want to research about practical situation. For example, they might say you're in the ward, and the relative of a patient is angry with you because of something. So as a nurse, how will you manage the conflict between you and the patient? How will you manage the conflict between the relative and yourself? So you want to put yourself in that practical situation and explain what you will do if something like that happens. So I made a video about how to handle difficult patients and their relatives. So it's going to be in my description if you want to have a look and see how I was able to discuss what I did in my own situation and how you can manage it. So just go down to the description and watch that video for yourself. I think you're going to get some tips and idea from there as well. So the next point will be know your medication. Now you're going for an interview, nursing interview. You want to know medication that are being used in certain areas. So you're going to apply for a ward nurse. You want to know the medication that are frequently used in the ward. So is it like a medical ward? You want to know the medication that are being used for medical cases, like the common ones. Is it like a surgical ward? You want to know all the pain medication and stuff for antibiotics that are being used in managing surgical cases. So it depends on the ward you're going to. You want to know what medication that are commonly used. You're applying for A&E position. If you're applying for the A&E, you want to know the emergency drugs that are used in emergency cases. So you want to do some research about drugs that are being used in an emergency situation. So just try to see those medications, know a bit information about them. You must not know everything, but I have an idea of what the medication is and what they are being used for. Or you're working in the theater, you want to know most of those medications they use as well. So depending on which area you're applying to work, you want to have an idea of what medication they use and what it's being used for. So that will go a long way to making your employer or your interviewer impressed with you. So the next point will be you want to match your skills with the role you're applying for. So now you don't want to claim you can do certain things, you want to prove that you can do it. So you want to match your own skills with the role. So say you're telling them that your skill, you're very diligent, you're hardworking, you want to work under pressure. So you want to explain how you can work under pressure. So you can give a scenario where you were alone, a charge nurse in a particular hospital where you were working and you were able to, despite the pressure with so many patients being on IVs at 10 o'clock, so many patients having to take medication at 9, you were able to work without being stressed, you were able to manage the pressure. So you want to bring a practical situation where you were able to use your skills to work in a particular role, not telling them, oh, I am diligent, I am hardworking, I work under pressure, because those are the kind of things we use during an interview. I'm flexible. You want to tell them how flexible you are, how diligent you are, and how you can work under pressure in a practical situation. I think that will go a long way to make your interviewer impressed. Make them know that you're the right person for the role. So my next tips will be, don't forget to listen. I know it's usually distressing or you feel agitated, anxious and all of that, and you have so many things running in your head. You want to know if you're really going to get this job. You're just having things coming into your head like, am I going to get this job? What's going to be the next question? You are just tense, nervous and all of that. So just try as much as possible to take a deep breath, relax yourself as much as able, and listen without interruption. Let your mind be in the interview. So most times you have a situation whereby you're being asked a question and your mind is not there and you don't you didn't even hear what the question is, or you don't understand. Feel free to ask. But the important thing is listen as much as possible. Do not get interrupted. While you're there for that interview, they're not only assessing how you can speak, but how you can interact and communicate with the patients, with people around, the staff and all of that. So you want to listen without interruption. You don't want to start diverting your mind from one thing to the other. So you get the question you're being asked, so you can be able to interact and communicate back so they know that you're the best person for the role. So my next point will be to prepare some interview questions. So you don't want to go and sit down there and then they ask you, oh, that is the end of the interview. Do you have any question for us? And you'll be like, no, I don't have any question. No, that's not right. So you would want to get a question so that before going for that interview, you have already prepared your questions down. So when you get there, you have something to ask. So I think when I had my interview done years ago, one of the questions I asked was about career advancement. You want to ask them if there's any opportunity for career growth. So that's one important questions you want to ask as well. There are other things you should be able to research that interests you more. If you're traveling out of whichever country you are to a new place, you want to also find out how they do things in that area, the weather condition, if you want to, whatever questions you feel you want to know about the place, the organization, the environment, the weather and everything, you can ask during the end of the interview. If they ask you any question, you should be able to ask those questions at the end of the interview, where your employer gives you the opportunity to ask whatever question you have in mind. So do not say you don't have any question in mind. Try as much as possible to have questions to ask during an interview section. So I will be rounding up with an overview tips. So apart from the pattern I've listed for you to use while preparing for your interview or during your interview, you would also want to relax yourself a night before the interview. Try to sleep. If you have received the interview invitation few days or weeks to that time, you want to research and prepare very well. You want to have in-depth knowledge about the organization, and then the night to that day, you should be sleeping, you should be resting. The night before the interview, you should be resting or sleeping. You shouldn't be, oh, I've not done this, I've not touched this area, I'm still struggling with this area. No, you should be relaxing at that point. You want to try to have good sleep and relax your nerves. And then in the morning of the interview, you want to dress smart, you want to look beautiful, You want to look presentable, put some perfume, wear nice clothes, you look smart, dress smart, relax. And when you get there, don't show them that you're nervous, even though you are. But just relax yourself, smile when necessary. Do not keep laughing. So just smile when necessary and relax yourself. If you don't have idea about a question, feel free to say you don't have an idea, but that should be the last option. You should be able to prepare yourself as much as possible to have idea, at least little idea about any question that is being asked. But if you don't know any question, do not tell lies. Just open up and say you don't know it. And good luck in your nursing interview. I will see you in my next video. Bye.